Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
Most Americans have heard the name Oppenheimer. Many consider him the father of the atomic bomb or a hero of World War II. But only few know the endeavors of his title and the price he paid for his rightful place in history. Today, in this episode of Watch This Then That, we're taking a look at Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, how the man became the legend. I'm telling you all the things that you need to know in order to be an expert before you sit down and watch the movie. Let's get into it. So the major premise of the movie is the theoretical physicist Oppenheimer and his development of the atomic bomb during World War II. And you might be wondering to yourself as you watch the movie, what was the purpose of making a weapon that we've now outlawed across the world? Well, it all started in 1938 when German physicists bombarded heavy nuclei with neutrons and learned that nuclear energy was a possibility that man could control. And just 1 year later, nuclear physicists had determined that a nuclear weapon was a very real possibility and was attempted to be created. And at the time, Germany held the leading scientists who were researching nuclear energy. This obviously caused the entire globe to be in fear, given that the Nazis had already invaded Poland and were engaged in an all-out war throughout Europe. If Germany succeeded in developing nuclear weapons before the rest of the world, they might conquer the entire globe. But not if these guys have anything to say about it. With these findings around nuclear energy, several prominent scientists in the United States drafted a letter to President Roosevelt, including Einstein. Yeah, that Einstein. And in December of 1941, the United States is attacked at Pearl Harbor. This prompted the United States to engage in World War II and also to engage in a top secret project known today as the Manhattan Project, to beat the Germans in creating a nuclear weapon. In the film, over half of the narrative is focused on the Manhattan Project, and Oppenheimer becomes the leader of the scientific community creating the nuclear bomb. In fact, Christopher Nolan calls Oppenheimer one of the most important individuals in human history. So first, let's take a look at a few key characters, starting with Oppenheimer himself. The guy came from a pretty wealthy family. He was a handsome guy. He was kind of like a modern day frat brother, but back in the day, it must have been kind of cool to be like a science nerd, I guess. Within the first 15 minutes of the movie, you'll see Oppenheimer in his scientific nerdy frat brother glory. You'll see him go to universities all across the world. And the guy gets to interact with some total brainiacs across the world as well. One thing that he would have loved for people not to find out about were his leanings towards communism, especially when he was in college and was a young scientist. Next, we're going to take a look at Lewis Strauss, played by Robert Downey Jr. That's right, Iron Man shows up in the movie. Not actually. It's worth examining how significant Strauss was leading up to the movie. Strauss was a successful businessman who in his later life entered politics and was a part of the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission. And when we encounter Lewis Strauss in black and white, we'll notice that he's sitting in a very particular place, the United States Congress building. That's because he had been nominated by President Eisenhower to be a part of Eisenhower's cabinet. However, presidential appointments have to be approved by the United States Senate, and therefore Strauss has to win over the United States senators who vote for his approval or denial to join the United States cabinet. General Groves, played by my personal favorite, Matt Damon, he plays an integral part as Oppenheimer's partner and superior in overseeing the Manhattan Project. And I'll be honest, the Manhattan Project was probably the biggest deal that General Groves worked on, but the guy also had a hand in building the Pentagon. And when he was tasked with putting together a team to do the Manhattan Project, he thought, I know just the guy, old Robbie. Two other main characters that you'll notice throughout the movie are Oppenheimer's wife, Catherine, who herself is a scientist and joined the Manhattan Project when they moved to Los Alamos. Her big concern was around nuclear radiation risks, and when you watch the movie, you'll learn that that was a pretty freaking big deal. The other lady in Oppenheimer's life is Jean Tatlock. Tatlock and Oppenheimer's relationship is a bit steamy. In fact, they're the main reason that this movie gets an R rating. And in addition to that, Tatlock was an outspoken communist and pulled Oppenheimer into some of his communist leanings when he's a young man. That brings us to the main crux of the movie. Oppenheimer is being interviewed throughout the movie by the United States House of Representatives. After World War II, the United States' main enemy shifted from Nazi Germany to the Soviet Union in all things communist. And that led to some sticky situations with Oppenheimer because so many important people throughout his life were communist, including his lover Jean Tatlock, his brother, his sister-in-law, the list goes on. And while Oppenheimer never formally joined the Communist Party, he certainly had a lot of interactions with people aligned with the Communist Party. And it's worth knowing that this movie, it doesn't exactly end with the bang like you might expect a movie about nuclear weapons to end with. Instead, it ends with the political drama that plays out in our political system all the time in real life, particularly as it relates to Lewis Strauss's character. And there you have it, folks. That's Oppenheimer's Watch This, Then That. That's everything you need to know to be an expert while you watch the movie. It's on Amazon Prime. Check it out there and make sure and leave a comment down below on whether you thought this movie was a bomb, no pun intended, or a bust. Thanks for watching, y'all. Like and subscribe to the channel. Peace.